Welcome to China Insider. I'm David Zhang. You ever thought that, hey, shopping on Amazon is convenient, cheap, and has everything your mind has ever wanted? Take this popular fitness item, a handheld massager, for example. On Amazon, you can find thousands of massagers at 1/10 of the price of a brand name. For as low as $30, you can get a massage gun from a brand called Cholas. Compare that to Theragun, which is a top fitness brand that starts at $160. Who wouldn't want a $30 version? But what exactly is Cholas? I did some quick Google search and I couldn't find a website for the company. This is their Amazon store page. Looks kinda legit, right? Another similar looking massage gun costs more than double that of the Cholas one. This one is made by Talico. It's at this time, there's an actual website that you can go to, and it turns out it is a Chinese company based in southern China. Now, what about iPhone chargers? The Apple original brand charging cable can cost $19, but just for the cable, whereas a Chinese brand one costs just 1/3 of that. What if it's data that you're paying for the Chinese Communist Party to take? Well, from a report last year, it showed that Chinese VPNs are recording your data. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and it serves the purpose to bypass blocked internet access, say like the Chinese firewall or a network management. And it turns out, according to StrikeSource, approximately 20% of the world's global population are being either directly or potentially set up for the Chinese government to collect all of their private email information, message, as well as personal records, and anything psychological too. Now, the potential harvesting of this VPN data should concern all of us. It affects some 30 million Americans who use VPN. One company, ExpressVPN, for example, is registered in the British Virgin Isles, but in reality is actually based in Hong Kong. Today, a Hong Kong-based company is not that different from a mainland Chinese-based company. ExpressVPN also promotes American censorship articles, telling us that the NSA is spying on us. Another VPN called UFO VPN, despite claiming a no-log policy, the Hong Kong-based UFO VPN was found to have stored and leaked 894 gigabytes of data that was stored in an unsecured Elasticsearch cluster. UFO VPN claimed that the data was anonymous, but based on the evidence at hand, StrikeSource believes that the user logs and API access records included the following: account passwords in plain text, VPN session secrets and tokens, IP addresses of both user devices and the VPN servers they're connected to, and much more. Now, these are, of course, VPNs that are paid subscriptions that users pay a price every month to use, as well as they agree to, because they trust that the VPNs are there to protect the users while they browse the internet. I mean, that is what the VPNs are usually marketed for to begin with. But personal informations being used while the VPN is active could actually be connected by China. And just like how TikTok could be collecting American information, it turns out that anything that's made in China or has China ties could also be a part of this data collection. Meanwhile, according to the Wall Street Journal, many businesses in China will have to seek approvals from Chinese authorities before transferring data out of China. That's according to new rules. The rules on cross-border data transfer will become effective on September 1st, which means that it could be the Chinese regime building a data fortress China so that others can't do what China is doing, i.e. helping itself to generate data by commercial companies around the world, and then through those data, generate items that the world wants. Now, according to an expert I spoke with, this seems to be the case. You're essentially paying for the Chinese regime to take your information, like the VPN service, and then they generate more commercial information that you want to buy. So this is basically a commerce war on us. Christopher Mims at the Wall Street Journal reported on this phenomenon last month. When you search on Amazon, for example, the results that you get are very confusing, because most of the items you see are 4 to 5 stars in reviews with hundreds or thousands of reviews pointing to how well the item is. Rarely do you find real reviews explaining what the flaws are, or if they break really fast, and if they do, could be hidden pages away. And confusion often set in because, wait a minute, didn't I just see that same item being listed somewhere else on Amazon, and why does this one look almost identical, except the logo is somehow photoshopped onto the item, whereas the other one doesn't have a logo? And if it's cheaper, does that mean it's an inferior knockoff or another brand? And what really separates one from another? Just like the massage gun case we talked about. It turns out, though, that Chinese products are selling on Amazon with a much lower price point and a much lower quality. And they've actually invaded Amazon to become a primary home goods provider for Americans. And Chris Mims also report that things, even though they're changing now with more American sellers becoming top sellers on Amazon because of supply chain issues in China amid the whole zero COVID thing, but this hasn't been true for all products. And buying from Amazon is often a battle between having quality control versus price. Now, this intensified after Amazon started to aggressively courting Chinese manufacturers around mid-2010s, and these sellers in China to bring more goods onto its service platform for a much cheaper price. And between 2016 to the end of 2020, which is when the pandemic sort of kickstart to its full-blown stage during 2020, the proportion of the top 10,000 sellers on Amazon based in China went from 1 in 5 to nearly 1 in 2. Remember, during the height of the pandemic in 2022, everybody was buying stuff from Amazon. And in fact, many sellers are offering free items to reviewers to provide reviews on the items if you go to sites like Rebate, which allows you to first buy the item, review it, and then they refund you the cost. Now, this creates a situation where the review process on certain items, likely from China, are less credible because people want to keep the item, so they give them 5 stars without actually testing it and providing an authentic experience. However, though, Amazon seems constantly to be trying to stamp out this behavior, but that's a large process, and they've spent a lot of money doing it. Of course, some US sellers have had similar issues with products, and some of the Chinese-based brands on Amazon have actually built a reputation around having a decent quality, but also pretty cheap. But the mass majority of it seems to be the case where you're seeing a lot of the Chinese sellers on Amazon taking essentially what they used to do, which is counterfeit crackdown, and then branding themselves again to bypass that crackdown. For example, China-based sellers have been trying to create their own brands. Now, these brands, like Toloco or Chola's, you can't really find much information on them. But they actually earn access to the merchant data and the tools that aren't accessible to mere sellers of generic goods. For example, companies that are from China but listed on the US, trademarked, registered, well, they actually use abbreviations or acronyms for the Chinese version of the company based in China. They tend to favor nonsense strings of letters for their brands. Toloco might be an abbreviation of some sort, because these get approved easier for the trademarks. Mims reports, for example, Shenzhen Songyu Industrial Company registered a US trademark under QNTRY or QTry, and then the company uses the brand name for an Amazon-sanctioned brand of iPhone chargers. And so when you go to QTry's webpage, it actually shows that just like some of the other brands that we've been talking about, everything's very generic, and you can almost identify they're probably from China. Mims also report that it turns out Amazon's algorithms are designed to show customers the lowest price on an individual item, and they can't discern when the same product is simply rebranded and sold by a different company. So you get the situation where multiple sellers are selling the same item for different price points. So a search for, say, garlic press on Amazon yields search results that appears to be the exact same item, but with different prices, ranging from something like $1.50 to $10. But Amazon isn't the only company having this problem. There's an online fashion invasion from a retailer named Shein, and it is also a Chinese company based in Nanjing, China. Shein was founded in 2012 according to online information, and it outperforms Zara with $10 billion in revenue. But online, you won't find China mentioned anywhere in its About Us section, or How Do We Do Business, or even its supply chain statement. But items from Shein take much longer to ship, and they arrive much later than brands like Zara or H&M when you buy them online. And they sell items at the fraction, like 10% of the cost you would find in other brands. If you visit Shein, you find American models donning beautiful dresses and posing, and you can find catalogs of different seasonal outfits, undergarments, shoes for men's, or even accessories of all different kinds. For just $4, you can get this summer dress, and the bag there costs $3. They also constantly offer these 20% or 15% discounts depending on different promotions that they have at the time. This is like fashion dream come true. Why would you buy from an American company, Zara or H&M, when both cases they're getting items from China anyways when you spend fraction of the cost on Shein? So there's these other websites like Wish.com or AliExpress. Both are also from China. And in fact, many items you see on Amazon also sell on Wish.com and AliExpress, also for a fraction of the cost. So what is this? An invasion of Chinese products? Well, that's not new. That's old news. This is a war on American consumerism to create a reliance on Chinese-made products. And it doesn't help that companies are disguised as American websites and through platforms like Amazon creates or promises quick shipping and a credible item check system. Consumers are drawn to spend less, get more, and get it much faster, and then spend again if things break. Like TikTok, which many are calling a security risk, shopping China has become a new phenomenon and a new front of warfare. Take the recent report, for example. The legal and regulatory risk of doing business in China may be about to get a lot tougher. The Chinese Security Regulatory Commission is implementing changes to its rules governing publicly offered security investment funds, and these rules require companies, foreign-owned fund managers such as BlackRock and Fidelity, to create Communist Party cells when operating in China. What does that mean? Well, a communist cell is a direct control office of the Chinese Communist Party inside a company. In China, the party controls all aspects of life. So this is like equal to if the US President Biden directly had a liaison's office set up in Google or Apple and told them what to do, instead of the CEO or the president of the company. So now many foreign investors have assured that these rules would only apply to Chinese businesses and state-owned enterprises, but in China, many of these companies actually share ownerships with a Chinese company in a foreign venture. But don't forget, with the way the Chinese Communist Party operates, they can actually enforce it on you, on BlackRock or whatever, regardless of what the rules are. Now, how does this relate to shopping? Well, it's a phenomenon here. So here's the thing. The CCP creates a unique market access, whether it's companies from the US or consumers from the US, whereas the rest of the world, including the United States, have limited access into China. But on the other side, the US allows free access and the creation of these shell companies or even websites in the United States from China to compete with platforms like Amazon or Walmart or Target or Zara or H&M. And so companies like Wish, Shein, or AliExpress, or even Chinese sellers on Amazon, they're actively restricting US-based companies and consumerism, but they're offering all of the domestic companies to go abroad and to dominate in the foreign markets. So now you get the situation, it's asymmetric. Take Tesla, for example. CCP directs domestic electronic vehicle makers to always have more sales over Tesla, which is an American company. Here we have no control over how many massage guns are sold and what the profits are for the Chinese companies, and you're essentially giving the hidden risk in the 21st century, which is whether it's shopping or VPN. China has all the data information on you. They're spying on you. So basically the generation of data turns into profit where they can then sell items that they know Americans would want to dominate the consumer market here and create a reliance and a consumer supply chain. Essentially, you can't live without China. And the bottom line is this. Beijing is creating an export policy regarding data, something the US should take seriously about. And then China has taken full advantage on the consumer side of things. So if data is a strategic commodity, then now it's actually being used as a strategy of war. So shopping is one of the tools in which China has created a physical example of how they can control American consumers and then make them the victims of a commerce war in China. And thank you so much for watching today. This is China Insider. I'm David Zhang. We'll see you next time.